beginning. I was rewatching one of our Strong Start TVs the other day. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how this started. I was like, okay, great. I love that for all of us. I don't even remember what it was. I was like, oh, it's not.
The one where we were all eating.
Well, yeah, I watched two. Well, when I'm eating in both of the meetings that we filmed, so like I don't know, I'm always eating. I made sure I ate before this meeting.
I was gonna say the one that we have tomorrow during lunch.
Yep. I don't have to film that one though, so we're fine. So we just get to eat without cameras being on us.
We do love that.
We've already kind of talked about this, but besides tired, how are you as a human?
Just frustrated.
Yeah, about just like the coverages and things like that, or
I'm not even as frustrated that like we have to cover, like it sucks, but like we have to cover.
Yes,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't suck.
Yeah.
I'm more just like the thing that I had to talk about yesterday and the email that I had to send. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super frustrated about that.
Yeah, and Matt is like, I mean, you saw
Yeah.
Matt. I'm sure you saw Matt's email. Yeah, like Matt is.
And
Pissed.
like, yeah, me too.
Yeah, valid. Like valid.
For so many reasons. But I feel like that lack of consistency is super frustrating, and I think is being felt by me, by a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know, like when I had my coaching meeting with Dalton last block, like that was something that he talked about, and like feeling frustrated about the same things.
Yeah.
And I think some of it is genuine lack of consistency, and I think some of it is just like not publicly airing people's shit. Right? Like he was frustrated because he saw all of the people that were invited to his practice clinic, and then he saw how few of them showed up to his practice clinic. And so he was like, why am I being held accountable to come to this practice clinic when these people aren't? And so I told him, I was like, you know, some of that might just be like they genuinely couldn't make it for whatever reason. And I said, and you know, in the like intent to give people their privacy, like that might not have been shared. And I said, but also like I get your frustration, and that's something that like whoever runs your practice clinic, you can say like, hey, if there are people who aren't here for like a reason, you don't have to give us the reason, but can you just name like some of these people aren't here, and I'm aware of that.
Yes, and I think, and like
But
which was he in the? He was in the one with
Marina and
Okay, so he was in the one that was run by Matt, or no, by Matt or Shelby.
I
last
don't
week.
know.
I don't remember either. I think he would have been in the one. Okay, no, so he would have been in the one that was run by Matt.
Okay.
And what I do know is Matt, for anybody who missed his practice clinic, like he had a makeup practice clinic. And by he, I mean I did, because he was sick, so I did his makeup practice clinic. So no, but I hear that frustration, and I think like, you know, and I can lift up to him, to Matt, to like speak to people's absences, because I know that like multiple people who were in that practice clinic were like out sick that day. So like like literally like Lane was out sick that day, Elvira was out sick that day, Hugo was out like it really, I think it was like 4 or 5 that were just like out that day.
And that's why I was saying like some of it is just like we didn't say why people weren't
here.
Yeah,
and I think like that's a great
that's a difference between like genuine inconsistency and perceived inconsistency, but I think both are frustrating.
Yeah, and I think you were in mine, right? I don't know.
I wasn't.
That's right. You were okay. Well, yeah. You were supposed to be, but yeah, you were a freshman forum thing. Like, because I spoke to people not being in mine.
Right. And like I know it's a thing that we've done well in the past. I'm just like, hey, these people aren't here. I'm aware of that. You know, this is
why.
How we follow this up.
Yeah.
And like if they're comfortable, like Josh didn't come to 9th grade meetings for all of Q4 last year because he had just moved here and was doing childcare stuff.
Sure.
And shared with Melvin like, you can share this with staff. That's fine. But then nobody felt like hurt about Josh not having to be there when everybody else was, and like then we don't have a perceived inconsistency, and I think it's just like an extra layer of things.
No, that's right. And I think like you can say it and be like, okay, because like I think because mine, I was fortunate enough like anybody who wasn't there was accounted for. Like I knew why they weren't there. There was someone who just didn't show up.
Right.
And so it was easy for me to say, like, hey, you know, we've got a couple people who weren't here. This is why, like, or not why, but I was like, but they've gotten in contact with me. Like I spoke to why you weren't there and why Melvin wasn't there. And, like, I was like, they're doing freshman family forum. Like, everyone's accounted for. But I think that's really, really valid. And I can definitely follow with Matt, too. And also, when we have practice clinics today, because I also know a couple people won't be at practice clinics today because we have a lot of people out, so that's first of all.
We have a lot of people out, and then, like, some people are just excused, and, like,
yeah, and then some people are
email,
some people are excused, and then I know at least one couldn't be there because of like a legit reason, and so but I will also, for the people who are leading them today, which I think it's Jones, Sisney, and Bradley, I will make sure that they can speak. They speak to that in each of theirs.
Yeah, I think when we're feeling as a staff so like stressed about consistency,
yep,
there are moments that aren't actually inconsistency but can feel like it, and that's
yeah. And perception's reality. So yeah, no, and perception's reality, right? Like it's
cool. But I've had.
Nine.
I had to like message Devontae yesterday because I had so many kids explode during like the back half of the day because they were so far out of dress code and out of dress down, and nobody had said anything to them all day until they got to my class. Yeah. And they like shut down, they wouldn't take their quiz, they wouldn't do like anything because they were so mad. And I was like, it's like not even your fault because it's the last block of the day or the second to last block of the day. Yeah. And like we can't be here. And I feel like it still happens so often.
Yeah.
And like I had a conversation that was actually a really good conversation with Stacia about it because she talked to Tiffany Russ and she was like talking about consistency, and I was like, Stacia, how often do I tell you you can't eat in class? She's like, every day. I said, so why do you keep eating in class? Because other people let me eat in class. Great, so is it me or is it them?
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I doing? She's like, your job. And I said, right. And she's like, so you're saying that, because she's asking why Tiffany is here. And I was like, she's working on like building better school culture, like building more consistency. And I was like, think about this thing that you get frustrated with me a lot. And I said, not eating in class is a school rule. I said, so is it me that's doing the bad thing? Or like, are we just not holding the line as consistently as we need to be as a school? And she was like, okay. And I said, that doesn't mean that you still need to try to eat in class every day, because you know you can't, and you get told every time. But like, those kinds of inconsistencies that lead to you getting really frustrated in class are the kinds of things that Miss Russ is here for.
Yep.
And I said, so when she was talking to you, it's not because you're specifically in trouble, it's trying to find the places where we as teachers can do better. And I said, so talking to Mrs. Russ is really helpful. Talking to staff is really helpful.
Yep.
And she felt like better about that. Good. I phrased it in a better way than other people are fucking up, not me, but like I promise. But like we were talking about, because she was really like, I know who this woman is, why is she here, as Stacia does. But I think like kids are starting to notice it a lot more, and some kids are noticing it more and pushing back more, and some kids are noticing it more and just like being frustrated.
Yeah.
But if kids are feeling it, like we really are.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I feel all of those. No. I feel absolutely. I understand all of that. Let's jump in to this meeting. So the purpose of this meeting is for us to just take a look at your DEP, reflect on how students performed on that CIA 1, and then what we need to focus on and like double down on going into quarter 2, to ensure that we're on track both for like CIA level of mastery, but then also teen ready and those EOCs. And so first, let's just start with like your honors classes are freaking crushing it. That, like they are like you've got 54.5% and then 51.5% met and exceeded in those classes. And so like just focusing on those 2 blocks, what do you think is attributing to that level of mastery?
I think part of it is just like those classes, I feel like those students are much more committed to actually like doing well, but also have a much stronger belief in their ability to succeed. And so we have so few like behavioral pushbacks that we don't have to get bogged down in behavior monitoring, and we can actually push through content the whole time. Like, you come into my third block a lot when you observe, and like that's one of my honors classes, and the most it is like quick L1s for stopping, like for side conversations, and then we can actually get to content and have those discussions.
Yeah.
It's also where kids are doing the most homework, and so we can actually dive more deeply into classwork, and they can actually understand the skill because they've read. And so like if kids aren't reading, then they have to like do so much remediation in the moment to try to analyze a text that they never read, and without the comprehension they can't do the analysis, and then they're missing out on the skill. And so we have like a higher motivation, a higher belief in ability to succeed, and a higher homework completion, which all mean that class is academic content 98% of the time, whereas my standard blocks is maybe like 60% academic content and like 40% behavioral work.
And I think, so I think like, you know, obviously we were intentional in terms of placement this year as it related to student choice, and then like where they were, you know, academically to the best of our ability. So, you know, the majority of students that are in the honors class wanted to be in the honors class, advocated for it, or, you know, named it on their survey. And so that's definitely probably, you know, contributing to all of those things you named. I do also want to stamp, or just make sure that we name that stuff still doesn't happen in, you know, without like the teachers setting the culture, setting the tone. Because there have been plenty of honors classes and plenty of AP classes where that's not the case. And so what are some of the things that you think that you've done to allow all of those other things to flourish?
I think like providing, I think I've done better about like minimizing teacher talk, which, as you know, is a thing that I struggle with. I ramble. We just saw it. It's on video. And so like trying to minimize the amount of time I'm talking, and and like much less rounding up of student responses, and much more like universal prompting to get them there, allowing them to build on each other instead of me pushing them to where I want them to be. But I also think that in my honors class, I'm trying to phrase this the right way. I think that my standard class, I over scaffolded. So like this quarter, I'm matching their lessons much more closely, because I think that we took so much time on things that with my standard kids, a lot of them just didn't finish the CIA. And when I look at how much time they had to do things compared to my honors students, like some of that is my honors students can read faster, because a lot of them are reading above grade level. But also like they got more practice with doing things at a more urgent pace, and so they got held to timestamps much more strongly. They got held to like, you're gonna read this in like a shorter time span that's more accurate to the test, whereas my standard kids, I've been pushing more to EOC timing, which is much longer than CIA timing. It's almost like triple the time for the same amount of stuff. And so I think that that's part of what led to the disparity much more than students' ability to achieve the same score. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because CIA teaching is fast.
Yeah.
And so that's just like a struggle that they have. And I don't think it helped them as much as I wanted it to adjust their pacing for other things.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And so then taking both of those classes into consideration, you know, I've captured the snapshot here of both the CIA performance this year and last year, and then sort of the performance on the EOC last year as well. And so that 59% and the 49% figures, those are just the averages, so not that percent projected for proficiency. And so there was a drop, right? There was that 10% drop. And then as you know, like last year we were at 25% in terms of on track or mastered, and our goal is up to 40 this year for the end of the year. And so I think when we're looking at like our the headlines of this data, and thinking about, 2.5 quarters from now, if this were, like that CIA 3 data, how would you feel? Sure.
I'm stressed. Like, I get that 49% at mastery is higher than our goal of 40, right? But small one. And if like we're looking at the 59% compared to the 25, then what does the 49 compared to the 40 actually mean?
Yeah.
Right. So stressed. I also know like a lot fewer kids wrote their essays this year than on the last CIA, and so it dropped them so hard.
And is that because of what you were naming about like the pacing and then
They also just like are slow readers, generally.
Yeah.
And like that's true most years. But I don't like. I've been trying to do research on like how to speed up like student reading, and besides like read more, people do like reading sprints, but they're all based on like your decoding skills, and I don't know how much of the issue is decoding skills and how much of the issue is just comprehension skills. Like, because if you can read and decode quickly, great, but are you actually comprehending while you're decoding and reading?
Yeah.
Because I can read and know the words that I'm reading much faster than I can read and comprehend the thing that I'm reading.
Yeah.
And so, like, besides just read more, I'm struggling to find strategies that, like, can increase comprehension when they're looking at, like, ACT and CIA level texts with short time spans.
Yeah.
And I think that part of it is just going to be slowly cutting the time frames that they have for minors. So like you're not getting the 40 minutes of class.
Yeah.
You're getting maybe 40 at the beginning, and then by the end of the quarter we're cutting it down to 25.
Yeah.
But even 25 minutes for one thing with 10 questions, which is what they're...
It's still too much time.
Well, right. Like, if we're actually holding them to CIA stuff, it's too much time. But, like, if we're looking at the recommendations for those quizzes, like, time-wise, most of them, like, all the CCRS ones do recommend, like, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's 5 minutes shy of how long they have to answer 30 questions over 3 passages.
Yeah, and I think, like, when we look at it that way, I think, part of what the shift to the standards-based grading this year is to wanting to make sure everything is aligned. And so, and that is, like, obviously that's content aligned, that's question stem aligned, all of that, but it also should be timing aligned. And so, like, yeah, maybe for when Hedgehog created the mastery-based quizzes years ago.
Before CIAs even
Before
existed.
CIAs existed, not mastery quizzes, not mastery-based quizzes. Mastery quizzes years ago, like, that was the recommended time, but I think it is fully appropriate for you to be like, yeah, but no. It needs to be based on what our CIA is going to be testing them on, and speed and everything. And then, like, that should be the focus versus a mastery quiz that was created 5 years ago.
Right, because, like, we're getting better results when they have more time. But it's not setting them up for CIA success at all.
And and one thing, and our minor summatives have thus far proven to be really predictive of, like, student performance on CIAs and, like, their end of quarter assessments. And we don't want that to fall to the wayside because students are having a false sense of their ability. Or no. We don't want there to be a misalignment in terms of students and thinking they don't know the content because they're expected to demonstrate their knowledge in a smaller time. Because, like, the time crunch doesn't mean that they don't know it, right? Like, and again, we want grades to be reflective of what kids know. And so it is like we want them to then have all of the at-bats they possibly can to demonstrate they know it, but quickly.
Yeah. And I think, like, that's why I'm saying, like, I think that the gap between my honors kids and my standard kids is less of an achievement gap and more of a speed gap.
Yeah.
Because when I look at how many of my standard kids never even got to the essay, compared to how many of my honors kids didn't get to the essay, my honors kids that didn't get to the essay chose not to write the essay.
Yeah.
Except like one, who genuinely didn't get there. My standard kids who didn't get to the essay did not get to the essay.
Yeah.
And so like, even if their multiple choice was good, missing the full essay score.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, that's 45, 55% of your grade.
Yeah.
And so like your grade is tanked. And so I think that that's part of the massive discrepancy, and I think a lot of it comes from time.
Yeah.
And I don't think I did a great job of supporting them last quarter in getting to the time frames of quizzes that they needed to be successful on that CIA sprint, because it is a sprint.
Yeah. And so as we now sort of take those headlines and that knowledge and then start applying them to the specific standards and power claims and our reteach plans, I think that that's the timing. Oh, it's definitely excitement. I'm pretty sure. Hope. Y'all, y'all just interrupted a meeting because y'all are so loud.
Oh, shit. Admin needed my physics review.
Huh?
Or y'all just said admin needed my physics.
Great, cool. Let me now change the sheets. I'm not in.
Hey, Miss Lally. Why are they right?
See, I was the nice one this time.
You just walk past?
Josh,
Miss
what did you do?
Yeah, I went on a curve. Yeah. I'm gonna have brace on today. Yeah, one of the dances, yeah, but I'm gonna have a brace on the other boot. And it's pads, so it's gonna get that good protection. That's what I did, because the day right before the TSU parade, that's when I sprung it, so you know, I marched that whole parade and that was still hurt really bad.
Maybe not make you late.
I'm already gonna be late because the elevator.
Oh, but you're not gonna get L2 with that, right? What's your class?
Hey, big girl, stop it.
Why do you have AirPods in?
The food should is that was sent 7 minutes ago, and Devontae has resolved it.
It said now
I
on
read
my
it,
phone.
and there was nothing happening, and I was like, "What's going on?"
It said now, because I even looked to see.
It said 21.
Mine said now.
Okay.
Now it says 8 minutes ago.
Okay. Great. Let's jump back.
Sorry.
No. Also, students can never say that they don't have enough time because I was
they do.
able to get back in like here within that 3 minutes.
They do. There are fewer lates in 3 minutes than there were in 5.
Yeah.
They just want to talk more.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So let's jump into actually like looking at the contents of that DDP.
Yeah.
And actionizing it. So
I think I did a weird job of planning things because I did it before I did my DDP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's look at. So I want to focus first like on that part 2, and I'm about to answer a call. Just give me 1 second, because it is definitely Chick-fil-A. Hi, this is Miss Garner or Mariah Garner. Hi. Where are you? You said you pulled up to the school. Are you in the back? Are you, okay, so you're by the middle school side. If you actually want to go, is it like a cumbersome bag, or is it a lot of stuff? Do you need like a cart? I'm trying to think if I need to give you elevator access or make sure we're on the elevator. Perfect, great. Then can you actually go to the back of the school? You'll see a bunch of like hanging flags, and I'll meet you there. Okay, great, thank you. Bye. Let me just pause this at this point.